Hi, welcome back. I'm sitting here with Reuben Yap, Chief Operating Officer of Zcoin. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, how's the conference been so far? You are when this last day at the very end. What is your feedback about Blockshow?
Well, I had a really good time. It was actually my first time in Germany, and a couple of us went to concerts. I wasn't there, but it's a lot more chill in a good way. You can actually make a lot of meaningful networking relationships, and I really enjoyed that. So we also met some cool, like the guys from H-Secure at the booths, and they recently integrated our coin. So it's great to put the face to someone we've just been interacting online. So yeah, I'm really been enjoying myself.
That's you kind of summed up a lot what we've heard. It's all about networking. It's all about building these stronger partnerships with others.
That's right. Yes.
So Zcoin, do you want to tell the online audience a little bit about it?
Sure. Zcoin is primarily a privacy coin. We focus on two types of technology: privacy and decentralization technologies, which I guess we can go through later as to the intricacies and differences. I guess there aren't that actually many original privacy implementations out there. Most are copies of others, and we are the first to implement the Zcoin protocol, and we'll be building and probably talking a bit more about that.
Tell us a little more about the zero proof coin.
Zcoin. So we're often confused with zero cash. Actually the Zcoin. So there's Zcoin is a protocol, Zero Cash is a protocol, Zcoin is the currency, and Zcash is the currency. So they're actually, we are both using zero knowledge proofs, but it's totally different cryptography. They're using something called ZK snarks. We are using something called RSA accumulators with a fiat Shamir transform. But basically, the idea of Zcoin is that, it was the first iteration of zero knowledge proofs. And it used really strong cryptography that has existed since the 70s, and that has actually formed the foundation of public key cryptography today. So the idea is that, in cryptography, something's new is not necessarily better because it has lasted the test of time. It's used throughout industry. And we feel that, yes, Zcash is really interesting technology. We really like what they're doing. But we feel that there's a room for us where, where we're using a bit more, conservative cryptography, but we're still getting really, really good anonymity sets. And we're not just standing here at the standstill. We've just hired 2 cryptographers to actually further improve our protocol, and we're really, really excited about that.
Fantastic. That's fantastic to hear. That's something we hear over and over again, that we're still just at the dawn, not even day one of cryptocurrency or blockchain as an industry.
Yes.
So it's fantastic to hear, pushing the boundaries of what is possible and continuing even beyond that. And given that fact, I think you have, I've been talking to you over the last day or two, and I think you have something very special you want to announce here at Blockshow.
Yeah, well, we have been developing MTP, and MTP is called Merkatry Proofs. And I think, for those of you who have been following the news, Bitmain has been coming out with ASICs for all sorts of algorithms like Equihash, Kryptonite, Fhash. And I guess, there are some people who say, oh, let's give up the ASIC resistance game, let's just embrace ASICs. But I do think it's too soon to give up that fight. We are seeing that, although, yes, Bitmain is coming out with ASICs a lot faster, the efficiency gains are getting a lot less. Like, for example, with Bitcoin miners, we're looking at 1,000 a few thousand times more efficient than a GPU or CPU. Then with Litecoin, it was a few hundred times. And then with Equihash, it's about 5 times. And then with Fhash, it's maybe even less. So we're seeing that gap come a lot less, and ASICs weren't as efficient as before. Yes, they can come out a lot. And I guess MTP takes quite a unique approach, where we use a large amount of memory. We're using 4 gigs of memory.
Oh, wow.
And that can actually scale up to even sizes as large as 8 gigabyte memory. So I guess for the viewers who may not understand how large that is, script that is used in Litecoin uses 128 kilobytes. Kryptonite was used in Monero only uses 2 megabytes, and Equihash uses 144 megabytes. So this is a really huge difference.
Definitely.
And one of the benefits of MTP is what we call a symmetric proof of work, where the work we do in mining is not the same as the work we do when we verify the work. So it's kind of like a teacher. It's like, when I'm the student, I'm doing a lot of the work, and the teacher can just say yes or no without actually having to go through the entire computation again. So that's important because yes, you want it to be hard for the miner, but very quick to check so that the nodes can make sure that it can process these transactions really quickly. So what we will hear about the announce is that after a long time, because we actually were supposed to launch MTP last year, and 2 weeks before the launch, there was an academic paper out that highlighted certain flaws in MTP, and we were like, oh my gosh, so many months and months of work just thrown down the drain. But we actually, after that, we funded bounties to actually improve MTP. We even funded research to improve MTP further. So there was a new academic paper out that was, I guess, partly funded by us. And in January, we launched, the paper was called MTP version 1.2, which solved many of these issues. And finally now, after this period of coding, we were finally ready to release our first iteration into the test net. Let people play around with it and, poke holes into it. And we'll be refining the codes over the next few, months or so before we release it to mainnet. But we're really excited because this is excellent opportunity right now when everyone's like Bitmain and I know some people are saying like, oh, you shouldn't be pursuing ASIC resistance. But the key thing is that we have to remember, like, unlike smart contract platforms, unlike a lot of other things, Zcoin is primarily a cryptocurrency. And people always have been hating on us. Why are you following Bitcoin's supply schedule? Why are you, such a high inflation in the early period? And there is a reason. There's a reason why Satoshi decided to have such a high inflation in the beginning, because a currency is only as worthy as how many people use it.
Of course.
And if only ASIC manufacturers can mine these new coins, that's a problem with distribution. So we are not a smart contract platform. TPS isn't the most important thing for us. Even if you take a look, we can handle like 8-10 times the volume of Bitcoin or whatever. It's not really an issue right now, especially for a privacy coin. So we're looking like, hey, you need a way that people can just turn on a computer at home and have a chance to earn some coins.
Yes.
And it may not make them rich, but the point is that it's an excellent distribution mechanism. And if you think about it, if you take a look at what's happening in Venezuela, where the government has been trying to control its currency, and they've been banning cryptocurrencies because people have been seen as a safe haven. They have gone to the extent of banning ASIC miners from being shipped into Venezuela because they say, I don't want you to be earning Bitcoin, and I don't want you to be. So, yes, you can ban ASICs quite easily, but you can't really ban computers. You can't ban GPUs and things like that. And I guess that's a really, really strong incentive to try to maintain ASIC resistance as long as possible, at least during the initial stages of a coin, which we still are in. So that's a very interesting thing that we're working on, and we work really hard on it, and we'll be opening bounties for people to develop miners and open source pools. So we really want MTP to be like, the next wave of proof of work algorithms.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm glad to hear it because, ASICs, there's been a lot of talk about that actually tearing up a lot of the things that we already knew about, blockchains and the entire points of it kind of being stabilized and giving everyone an opportunity, being truly decentralized. And now ASICs might really change that game.
Yes.
Where we turn into like a centralized, decentralized kind of almost model. So I'm really glad to hear this kind of development. It's exciting.
And if you think of it, if I'm a miner manufacturer, what is my incentive to sell you a miner at a low price if it's more profitable for me to just use it and mine?
Yes,
so there's actually a disincentive for me to sell it affordably to other people. And that's a problem because, that means at the end of the day, it's only the people who are manufacturing ASICs that can get all this new supply of coins, and it's a huge problem. And some people have been saying, oh, what happens if we have an ASIC developed, we just keep on hard forking and stuff like that. And that's really a stopgap solution, because what would actually happen is that the ASIC miners would just not even tell you when they have developed an ASIC and just secretly mine.
Yeah, of course.
So, we feel that we should approach it from a technological standpoint, through an algorithmically standpoint. We may not be perfect, but we still have a few tricks up our sleeve to make it. I wouldn't say that there's no such thing as an ASIC-proof algorithm, but we can just bring up that development costs as much as possible. And we've already seen that there's less and less gains coming from ASICs. And I do think that we are just trying to take as many steps as we can to make it as ASIC resistant as possible. And I guess one of the really interesting things about our ASIC resistant algorithm, like one of the problems with ASIC resistant algorithms was because it was CPU friendly, what tended to happen was another form of centralization, which was through botnets. Like Monero, when they were still ASIC resistant, what had happened was a lot of these people were infecting computers and mining a Monero instead. And that is a kind of centralization. And the issue there is that, well, you're replacing the ASIC miners with botnets, which may be even worse. And the cool thing about MTP is because we require such a large allocation of memory, the theory is that it's more likely for the infected user to say, what's this process taking 4 gigs of memory, as opposed to something else. So I do think there's really value in what we're trying to achieve here, and we're personally very excited about that.
I'm very excited for news, and thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, that is one fantastic way to end 2 days, hearing the news out of Zcoin. That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Reuben.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.